What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. It is another Falcons Friday upon us. I hope you had a great week. In this video, I want to talk about the Super Bowl, my Super Bowl prediction of who's going to win the game this coming Sunday. Also, we're going to talk about some Atlanta Falcons news and notes in this video. If you're new to the channel, as always, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done a video. But let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So first, we're going to go ahead and talk about my predictions for the game this coming Sunday and who's going to win the game. I do think, from my personal standpoint, that the Kansas City Chiefs will be the 2019 to 2020 NFL Super Bowl champions. They haven't won a Super Bowl in over 50 years. So I do think that Andy Reid is going to get that monkey off his back and will get his first Super Bowl ring and Super Bowl trophy. I have always been a huge fan of Andy Reid as a coach. A great offensive mind, has been around the game for decades now. Was a coach for the Philadelphia Eagles for many years. I think him and Donovan McNabb led the Eagles to 4 or 5 straight NFC Championship games. Played in one Super Bowl, I believe, in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, where they lost to the New England Patriots. But Andy Reid has been a great coach, great football mind. Personally, I just think that their offense is going to be too much for that 49ers defense. One thing that I do like about this matchup between the 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs, we're going to really get to see what runs the NFL right now of either the defense or the offense, because I do believe the Kansas City Chiefs have the best offense in the NFL, and I do believe that the San Francisco 49ers have one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL. So we're going to find out. You always hear the cliche that defense wins championships. We're going to find out on Sunday if the defense still runs the league, or we're going to find out if the offense is starting to catch up and, see if you can win with that style of, with that style of team, with an offensive minded team. Now, just to talk a little bit about the game, I just think that the Chiefs have too many weapons on offense. I don't trust the 49ers secondary. I do believe they have a great front seven and probably the best defensive line, like far as pass rushers. They probably have the best front seven in the NFL when it comes to the defensive line and the 49ers. They have, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, a bunch of first rounders, DeForest Buckner, all those guys, D Ford. They have great guys on that defensive line, but I'm not a big fan of that secondary. The only player that I really have a lot of respect for in their secondary is Richard Sherman. The other guys, they have a lot of young guys. One guy that by the last name is Weatherspoon. They have Ward in the back end, Jakarski Tart, who's one of their safeties. So they have a lot of role players on the back end, and I just think that they're not going to have enough guys to cover that's the speed of the Kansas City Chiefs and the just the skill position players for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a track team back there: Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. The list goes on and on. Sammy Watkins. They just have a ton of weapons for Patrick Mahomes. And Patrick Mahomes, to be honest, is probably the best quarterback in the NFL at this point. Has a great arm, can make all of the throws, can throw the ball off platform. And I think that's going to be the biggest issue in this game. I do think as the game goes on that defensive line for the 49ers, I think it's going to wear down. I think Andy Reid's going to run a lot of tempo in this game to keep those guys on the field, meaning a lot of no huddle, a lot of quick snaps, getting back up to the line, getting first downs. And I just think over time during this game, I think that the Chiefs are going to be able to wear out that 49ers pass rush, and it's going to tire out kind of like what happened to the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady, where they just played so many plays on defense where they were held on the field that the team kind of the pass rush kind of died down as the game went on and they got tired. If you remember what happened in our Super Bowl in 2016, we started off the game strong. For about the first 3.5 quarters, the defense played really good, but then the Patriots started that hurry up offense and it tired out Grady Jarrett and Vic Beasley and that pass rushing, Dwight Freeney and those guys. And I think the same thing is possibly going to happen in this game. And I just think that back end is not going to be able to hold up. Because if you go back and watch the 49ers games this season, the teams they struggle against are teams that have mobile quarterbacks. And Patrick Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks that can move around outside of the pocket, can make plays, and he has limitless, arm strength when it comes to throwing the ball down the field. So I really think that the 49ers are going to be in for a rude awakening. Another thing that bothers me about the 49ers, and I think it's going it's going to play a huge part in this game, is I'm not a big believer in Jimmy Garoppolo yet. He really has to prove himself to me. I don't think he did much on this road to the Super Bowl, meaning in this playoff run. I haven't seen him do enough to make me believe in him. He didn't play well against the Vikings. He threw a couple picks. In the game last week, he didn't do anything against the Packers other than hand the ball off 100 times. And I believe that any quarterback could have played the role that he played 2 Sundays ago in the NFC Championship game, where he only threw the ball a total of 8 times the whole game. Now, one thing I know about the Chiefs, they're not going to allow the running game to win the Super Bowl. They're not going to allow the Raheem Mostert and Matt Breida. They're not going to allow those guys to beat them in this game. Chris Jones is one of the better nose tackles in the game. Goes about 6'6", 300-some pounds. And I see him as the X factor for the Chiefs defense. He was a monster. They could not block him in the AFC Championship game. He really shut down Derrick Henry, Terrell Suggs, and those guys up front. Frank Clark, all of those guys up front, those unsung heroes that the Chiefs have. I think the Chiefs defense is underrated, and they're playing better football. Coming into that game, the AFC Championship game, I didn't think that they would be able to shut down Derrick Henry, because none of the other top defenses like the Ravens and the Patriots was able to shut down Derrick Henry. And I did think that he was going to be able to run on the Chiefs, and they shut him down. They locked him down. He was under lock and key the whole game. He only had about 70 yards rushing, and a big deal or a big reason for that was the Chiefs' defensive line controlled the game. They played very physical up front, and I think that the Chiefs' defense, their front seven, is very underrated, and they have some key players in the secondary, like the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, and they have solid corners. Bashaud Breeland, a lot of people don't know who Bashaud Breeland is. He played for the Redskins for a ton of years, probably about 3 or 4 years prior to joining the Chiefs this year. And he's a very good cover corner. Kendall Fuller, is another cornerback that they have. His brother, Kyle Fuller, is the corner for the Bears, Chicago Bears. And his brother, Kendall Fuller, that plays with the Chiefs, he's a pretty good corner as well. And they have a lot of guys on that team. The guy Sorensen, that plays like a Swiss Army knife. He's kind of like a linebacker / safety / corner. He's one of those guys that can play all over the field. He's been making plays this whole playoff run. He had a big stop against the Texans when they tried to run that fake punt. He made a key tackle to stop them short. He's been running all over the field. He's number 49 for the Chiefs. He's one of those players that has a keen sense to where the ball is. He has a knack for getting his hands on the football or making a key stop or key tackle. He's another one of those unsung heroes. And I do think in this game, the Chiefs are going to do a good job of covering the guys out of the backfield and covering Kittle. I really think that they're going to probably put Tyrann Mathieu on George Kittle in the passing game. And I do think that Tyrann Mathieu is going to make it really, really tough on Kittle. And I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo throwing to his wide receivers. I don't trust him trying to get the ball to Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders. I don't trust their wide receivers like that. And the main reason is Jimmy Garoppolo. It's not so much the wide receivers. I do think that Deebo Samuel is a pretty good player. And I know that Emmanuel Sanders is a great player. But I think that he's going to have a hard time in this game. One thing about Jimmy Garoppolo is he's a player that loses his confidence really, really easy, and he's a player that will throw you the football. It's been numerous times this postseason where he's been putting the ball in harm's way, and I believe that's the reason that Kyle Shanahan really went to that running game against the Packers, because he was making some bad throws in that game against Minnesota in the first round, in the divisional round. He didn't play well in the division round, and I think Kyle Shanahan kind of got afraid and basically wanted Jimmy Garoppolo to manage the game, and that's what I see Jimmy Garoppolo as, a game manager. I really don't see him as a player that can take over a game. We're going to see in this game, if the Chiefs shut down that run game, if Jimmy Garoppolo can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But I really don't believe he can beat them with his arm. I'm not a big believer in Jimmy Garoppolo. He did play with New England and was the backup to Tom Brady. And I think he's a solid player. I just don't think he's one of the upper tier quarterbacks. I put him in a tier with like somebody like a Kirk Cousins, where he's hit and miss. It's not like a sustained, he's a great player. I just think he's played for good teams. So don't be fooled by when you see a quarterback that has a good record. That doesn't necessarily mean that the quarterback is good. Because if you look at a player like a Dak Prescott that plays for the Cowboys, I really have seen more out of Dak Prescott than I've seen out of Jimmy Garoppolo because of how many games he's played in the league. And I really think that he's a little bit more consistent than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo is not asked to really do much. He's kind of like Tom Brady early in his career when he won his first Super Bowl, where the Patriots played good defense and they ran the football and they just had Tom Brady manage the game. And that's how I look at Jimmy Garoppolo. I look at him as a game manager, not somebody that's going to go out and win the game for you. And if he's forced to throw the ball 30 and 40 times in this game, I can see him throwing a couple of picks in this game and really struggling and being sacked and stuff like that, because he hasn't proven to me on the biggest stage that he can make plays. I don't put a ton of stock in the regular season and what he did in the regular season, because it's only been, this was only one season. I want to see what he can do against elite talent. And now that he's in the Super Bowl, if he can pull off this win against the Chiefs, and he's the reason that the 49ers win, then I'll give him a little bit more credit. But I just haven't seen enough. And to me, Kyle Shanahan has been trying to take the ball out of his hands instead of putting the ball in his hands. So I can't really give him a ton of credit for the 49ers winning this season, and I can't give him a ton of credit for them being in the Super Bowl, because he really hasn't done anything. He literally just handed the ball off in an NFC Championship game, the whole game, and they ran for like 300 yards. So it's hard for me to give a quarterback any type of praise when he only throwing the ball for like 100-some yards. Like, come on. So we're going to see in this game, I do think the Chiefs are going to force them to throw the ball. I do think that they're going to put a lot of pressure on that running game, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo to throw the ball. Frank Clark coming off the edge. Definitely look out for him in this game. Also, T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs. He's been around for many, many years. He's a veteran that played with Baltimore for the Ravens for many years. And he's another guy that knows how to get after a quarterback. And I think that Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers are going to have their hands full in this game. So, with that being said, we're going to see what takes place on Sunday. Like I said, if you're betting on the game, good luck to you. But if it was up to Jew and I was putting any money on this game, I definitely would go with the Chiefs. I think that Patrick Mahomes is light years ahead of Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback. And I believe that the Chiefs can beat you multiple ways when it comes to, they can also run the football, pass the football, and they're playing pretty good defense right now. Their defense is not the best defense in the league, but it seemed like they've gotten hot at the right time. And this is the time of year where you want to be gelling and clicking on all cylinders. And that's what I feel about the Chiefs in this game. I just feel like their offense is too much and their defense is opportunistic. They've been causing turnovers, and the Patrick Mahomes has been capitalizing, and the offense has been capitalizing on it. So I think the same thing's going to happen in this game. We're going to see if what I'm saying pans out on Sunday. But y'all definitely enjoy the game. Before I go, I want to give some quick Atlanta Falcons news and notes. For Atlanta Falcons, Ricardo Allen did have shoulder surgery, which caught me by surprise because I didn't hear anything about a shoulder injury during the season. But they said late in the season, somehow he did injure his shoulder and kind of played through it. So I wish Ricardo Allen nothing but the best. He is one of the captains and brains on the defensive side of the ball. Very smart player, very cerebral. So he's one of those guys that I definitely wish him nothing but the best, that he heals up. I do think he'll be back next year with the squad, with the Falcons. Like I said, he's one of the better safeties in the game and definitely a leader on this defense. So I expect him to do big things when he comes back. Also, Pat McKinley had shoulder surgery a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, right after the season. So big ups to him. Hopefully he can get, everything rectified, get his shoulder back to 100%. But that's pretty much it for the Atlanta Falcons news and notes. Quick information I want to give about the Falcons too. As you know, Arthur Blank is down at the Super Bowl. He's been doing interviews and talking to the media and stuff like that. And he was talking about how he expects big things for from this Falcons team in 2020. And I do think that the pressure's on for Dan Quinn and these guys to get it right. And I do think that they will get it right. I don't know which way they're leaning as far as cutting players, but Arthur Blank did say that after the Super Bowl is when they're going to start making cuts and start, getting their draft boards together and, figuring out where they're going to go ahead and forward. Personally, if you ask me as far as the players that should walk in free agency and the players we should re-sign, I'm big on re-signing Austin Hooper and big on re-signing Vic Beasley. The players I think should walk is Devondre Campbell. I think he should be released or he should walk in free agency. I think he can be replaced because we don't have enough money probably for him if we keep Hooper or Vic Beasley. And I think he's the most replaceable player out of those players, out of Vic Beasley and Hooper. So I think we could find another guy like Devondre Campbell in the draft, or just use a veteran guy, or maybe a four-year Lucan can step up finally in that role and take Devondre Campbell's spot. But I don't see Devondre Campbell being back with the Falcons next year. If he is, I wouldn't be mad about the situation. But I feel like our first priority should be looking to get our Pro Bowl tight end re-signed. I do feel like the offense, it should be the Atlanta Falcons calling card right now. I do think that we should be an offensive team, and that should be our identity. I feel like this team last year struggled to find an identity. We didn't know who we were, and I feel like we need to embrace who we are, and that's an offensive-minded team. I feel like the Chiefs are proving that in this playoff run, that you don't have to have a great defense. You just have to have a pretty good defense to go all the way, especially if your offense is putting up points. That makes it tough on teams. It takes them out their game plan when you're putting up a lot of points. So I definitely feel like with the Atlanta Falcons, I feel like for our identity, we definitely need to try to be that high-scoring offense, high-power offense. I do feel like it'll be easier to try to, solidify the offense than to become a dominant defensive team. I do think that we're going to be a better defensive team going forward, but most of our money on this Atlanta Falcons team and our draft picks have come on the offensive side of the ball. So we just need to go ahead and accept, as Falcons fans and as Dan Quinn and these guys, they just need to go ahead and accept that we are an offensive-minded team. We're not a defensive juggernaut. We're more of an offensive juggernaut. We have so many players that we've drafted on that offensive side of the ball. So we have a ton of assets on the offensive side of the ball. So personally, I would look at completing the offense before we worry about defensive players to bring back. I definitely would bring back Austin Hooper, no doubt. And I definitely would bring back Vic Beasley if possible. But with that being said, y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments below. And I'll have some more content for you guys coming up next week about our Atlanta Falcons. But it's been kind of hard to make Atlanta Falcons videos because right now everything is just from my point of view. And, you never know what the Falcons, what they're thinking until they actually do it. So I'm not too sure, where we're going to go going forward. I'm not too sure what players we're going to draft and stuff like that. I prefer a bigger player in the middle, like a Javon Kinlaw or Derek Brown being like our number one pick at number 16. If we can't get one of those guys, I would seriously suggest looking at taking an offensive lineman if we're not going to bring in a defensive tackle or a defensive end. The next player that I would look at is an offensive lineman to solidify that offensive line. Maybe another guard. I think it's the left guard position that's still kind of weak for us. I definitely would look at drafting the offensive lineman with the first 3 picks that we have. We have a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. So I definitely would look at bringing in another offensive lineman. I definitely also would look at bringing in, like I said, a nose tackle and a defensive end. Those would be my first 3 priorities going into the draft. But like I said, this has been your boy Jew. Please like, please share, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace. Y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. I'm out.